Empty Epsilon scenario writing, countdown to explosion. In this video, we are going to demonstrate putting a countdown on a console and invoking an explosion. So remember that distressed freighter that we had from a previous video that was added as a side mission? Well, we're going to give them a limited amount of life. So the first thing we're going to do is add a distressed freighter aided Boolean and say it's false. Then we're going to set up another timer. We have the first timer that says how much time before the mission is engaged, and then we have this timer that essentially says how much time does the freighter have to live. And for testing purposes, we're going to give them 5 seconds to live. That's plenty of time, right? You can live an entire life in 5 seconds, can't you? Maybe not. The final value, of course, will be not 1 to 2 minutes, but 2 to 4 minutes after we get done testing. We want to see our explosion and make sure it works before we move on to the next thing. So inside the loop that goes through all the players, we're going to check our new timer, distressed freighter dies time, and see if it has expired yet or not. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the existing code if it hasn't expired and put that in the else branch, adjust the indentation appropriately, and then we're going to add code for what to do when the timer expires and it's time for the freighter to explode. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to check to see if the distressed freighter was aided or not. If it was not aided, that means that it needs to explode. It needs to go boom. So the first thing in that will be we're going to create a new function called remove freighter widgets. So the timers and the aid buttons, we're going to go to one place to do all of that because we want to do it on all the players. So we'll put that in a function and we'll define that function here in a little bit. After that, we'll say if the distressed freighter was destroyed, which is a variable we just created, if it's nil, then we'll set it to true to say that the distressed freighter was destroyed. And here we are, we will destroy it. And boom, the freighter is dead. But if you don't have anything else, there's no boom. It just disappears off the screen. So let's make a boom. That's what the explosion effect is for. We will set the position of the explosion effect right where the freighter was. Distressed freighter X, distressed freighter Y, which we defined earlier as global variables. We'll set the size to 5,000, which is 5 units, and we will set it so that it does show up on the radar. If you don't set that, then you can see it on the main screen, but you don't get the nice little circle on the radar. We want to see that as well. Everywhere we can see the explosion effect, we want to see it. All right, if the timer has not expired for the freighter to die, we want to add a visual of the timer to the player consoles. And since Relay has the button that says aid them, we're going to put the timer on that console, as well as operations. Relay and operations kind of go together. So if the freighter has not been aided yet, then we're going to calculate the remaining time by subtracting the current time from our designated time for the distressed freighter to die. Then we're going to set up a string, and we're going to use string.format. We need a context. The info tabs, or info banner, whatever you want to call it, they call them tabs, the guys that created the context. So tab, relay, and operations is what we'll use for context. And we're going to give it a label freighter, and then we'll have a string in there. We're going to take advantage of another function in utils.lua called format time. And we'll pass them the number of seconds, which is what we calculated earlier, the remaining. So with that, we will have a nice string that we can put inside our information widget, also known as a tab, or I sometimes call it a banner. Anyway, whatever you want to call it is, 2 parallel lines and there's text in the middle of them. So we're going to set up a variable freighter time info for relay, and we're going to set it to freighter time info for relay. We're going to add custom info to the relay console, and we're going to give it the name that we just defined. And the string that we'll put in there is timer message, which we just built. Now we're going to do that again, and we're going to do it for operations. So we'll rename our variable ops on the end, copy paste that where applicable. We'll change the relay console to operations. Now that should add us a countdown timer to the consoles. Okay, in function render aid, we're also going to be calling that function that we talked about to get rid of the widgets. But let's define the remove freighter widgets function here now. We're going to be copying these two remove render aid button lines into this function, but we need to create the loop that goes through all the players. So we'll say for I, p in I pairs, that empty epsilon function get active player ships. I is the index, p is the player. I pairs, of course, means integer pairs, the special thing for running through integer lists. And we paste in those two lines from the render aid, and we need to add a couple more lines to get rid of the countdown timers that we just put out there. So p : remove custom, p dot, we'll take the variable that we defined earlier for relay. So we're going to remove that. We'll clone that line and we'll change that to ops. And there we have a routine to go and remove all the custom buttons and timers related to the distressed freighter in all the players. So now we want to actually set the Boolean that the freighter has been aided because they clicked the render aid button and they were close enough. So distressed freighter aided is going to be true. That, of course, is used up above in those routines we were just looking at. And then we add a call to the routine that removes the freighter widgets, and we'll get rid of those two lines. I believe that is enough for us to start testing. Let's go see what happens. Oh, error. Unexpected symbol near 5. Oh, I think I know what that is. I forgot to make comments. So let's go find that line. And yeah, there it is. That stuff that I typed out there should have been comments. So we'll put a couple of dashes in front of it, save it, and let's go try again and see what happens. Oh, another one. It's looking for a parentheses. I bet you I forgot to close a parentheses somewhere. Let's go look at that line. And yeah, I need a closing parentheses right there. Okay, that should take care of that error. We will test a third time to see if we have any errors. No errors right away. Okay, so we'll spawn a ship. Let's go out to the GM screen, select the ship. Let's put it near the distressed freighter so we can see it. We're going to stretch the game off the video capture, but that'll give us a nice main screen slice so that if we do explode, we can see that explosion and see what it looks like. Let's go over to relay and unpause the game. And in 5 seconds, we should get the mission to go aid, which should put the buttons here. Yep, and there's our timer. Freighter, see it counting down. We'll help them. We'll save their lives this time. But in our next test effort, we want to blow them up. We want to see if that works. So we'll go back, we'll restart the scenario, we'll put a ship out there, go to the game master, select the ship, and move them close to the freighter. And now let's see what happens when we let them blow up instead of aiding them. All right, take all the consoles, have the main screen slice, go over to relay, and, unpause, and 5 seconds later, we have the mission to render aid, but we're not going to click that button. When the countdown gets to 0, boom, it's gone.